we have 4 members present currently. We are just waiting for a few more to log in. I will let you know as soon as we have a quorum. Thank you, Chairperson.
Evening. Can you hear me, Llewellyn?
Yes, Chairperson, I can hear you.
Oh, because there's load shedding here, so okay, I was just checking the sound. Okay, then. All right.
Chairperson, it's Llewellyn. I hope you can hear me. Good evening, Chairperson, members of the committee, Deputy Minister Dr. Mahule, and officials from the department. Chairperson, we are correct, and I will hand over to you. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Brown, and good evening, Deputy Minister and your team from DBE. Good evening to the members that are in the meeting, and
Recording
also to
in
our
progress.
stakeholders that have joined this meeting. I sincerely apologize for not opening my video. I am actually in the dark. I'm sharing the meeting in the dark. I'm experiencing a load shedding this side. Can I ask you, Mr. Brown, to do a roll call for us?
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Daba, I have Honorable Aduans, Honorable Yabo, I have Honorable Nodada, Honorable Mashabela, and Honorable Ngobo. Two apologies for members. One is for Honorable Marathetla and one for Honorable Stickers. From the department side, I have received correspondence from the Minister's office. Apologies for her, as well as, of course, the DG is and Acting DG Dr. Whittle is present in the meeting. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Can you then fly the agenda? Members, that's the agenda for today. We've just have done the apologies. Now we are going to do the adoption of the agenda. Today we are dealing with the briefing from the Department on Mathematics, Science and Technology Strategies and Interventions. So can I request members to adopt the agenda? After that, we are going to deal with the minutes of the previous meeting. Adoption of the agenda. Honorable Aduans.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good evening to yourself, the Deputy Minister, members of the Portfolio Committee, and all officials from DBE and our support staff. I move to adopt the agenda as it is, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Aduans. Any seconder?
Thank you, Chair. It's Honorable Ngobo. Good evening to yourself, Chairperson, and the members of the Portfolio Committee and members of the department, Minister and Deputy Minister. I just wish to second that that we adopt the agenda as it stands, Honorable Chairperson.
DM, can I then hand over to you to lead the department?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening to members of the Portfolio Committee, and also good evening to the departmental team that is with the Deputy Minister. Thank you very much, Chair, for inviting us to this meeting to present on the Maths and Science, MST, maybe to put it in short. What we can say about our presentation, Chair, is that it's divided into two parts. There's part A and part B. And as we do mathematics and science, we are responding to the NDP 2030, because there's a path that we are following as government as to by 2030, where do we want to see ourselves? So on the part A is the performance, our performance, the intake, participation, and performance. Then part B will be on the response. It deals with teacher development. I know that you will see that even in the provinces, it's not, the intake is not the same, but we are trying by all means that all provinces participate the same way to math, science, and technology, especially that our economy needs that. So we are with the team basic education, the acting DG. We have also Mr. Tlhabane, who will be doing the presentation. But Chair, with your permission, though I know that part 1 will be presented by Mr. Tlhabane and part 2 will be presented by Mr. Rabu Tapi, and then I want to give to the acting DG just to give a summary and then give to the 2 presenters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Good evening to the chairperson. Good evening to all the members. As Deputy Minister has indicated, the first part of it will be handled by Mr. Tlhabane. It focuses specifically on all the strategies, interventions, curriculum focus areas, and then we'll hand over to Chief Director of Teacher Development, Mr. Rabu Tapi, to do part B, as Deputy Minister has indicated. Just by way of apology, Chairperson, Ms. Gaya is currently on leave. She's represented by Dr. Sibusiso Sitoli, who's acting in a place. And then to also indicate that, as indicated previously, the Director General Mweli is on leave at the moment. So over to you, Mr. Tlhabane. You just have to unmute, Mr. Tlhabane.
Unmute. Thank you very much, Acting DG. As I was trying to navigate the unmuting process, I hope you can see the presentation, Acting
Yes, yes, we can.
DG. Okay, thank you. Let me greet the Honorable Chairperson and honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. Let me also greet the Honorable Deputy Minister, you Acting DG, and all other senior managers from the Department of Basic Education. Honorable Chairperson, as indicated, I'll be focusing on the curriculum aspect of the presentation around our MST strategy and the interventions thereof. I'll be presenting the progress that we have made, also the targets that we have, and I will also highlight some of the challenges that needs to be addressed, and as basic education we're focusing on. That is the table of contents. I will not spend time on that, and the purpose is to present to the Portfolio Committee. The slide here states in a graphical manner the problem that we are trying to address, and it has to do with issues of performance and issues of participation. And we state in the problem that the participation levels are not where we want them to be. Like the Deputy Minister indicated, that we've got clear targets spelled out by the NDP. And we also reporting on the performance, and we also say our performance is not where we want it to be, though, as you will see in the presentation, that we have registered some improvements, but we say we need to do more. The work that we do is driven by the integrated national strategy for MST education in the country. This integrated national strategy for MST was developed at the directive of Cabinet, which directed that the 3 key departments, Department of Basic Education, Department of Science and Innovation, and the Department of Higher Education and Training, sit together, led by the 3 DGs, and develop this strategy that speaks to the work that is done by the 3 departments, clearly stipulating what the contribution of each department is in the strategy itself. It has goals and the vision right up to 2030, like the Deputy Minister indicated earlier on. Now, this MST strategy, as well as the sector plan that has targets, aligns the National Development Plan for each math, science, and technology subjects. And we've got 22 of these subjects. Though the presentation, I will focus more on mathematics and physical science, but the other subjects, all other subjects are also included in here. Honorable Chairperson, all 9 provinces were assisted to develop their specific implementation plans that speak to the integrated strategy. And these implementation plans per province take into consideration the context of each province, so that the plan responds to the individual, unique, specific conditions within each of the provinces. CEM then directed that we need to develop at a high level, high impact interventions, prioritizing the provincial context, as I already indicated. And CM also, with the approval of CM, that we also have MST conditional grant schools that serve as a nodal point for increasing participation and performance for maths and science in the country. The 3 streams model assists us as well to ensure that we drive participation and performance of all MST subjects, whether they are academic, whether they are technical, vocational in nature, whether they are occupational in nature. We have set targets for each of these 22 MST subjects from grade R up to grade 12, with special emphasis on exit grades. The next 2 slides speak to some of the high intervention programs that the integrated national strategy speaks to. It includes establishment of MST directorates in provinces to ensure that each province has an MST directorate, and continuous review of MST curriculum offerings that also show that it responds to the skills required for the 4th industrial revolution in both GET and FET phases. And this response can be seen by the type of subjects that we have developed, like coding and robotics, like the 11 specialization subjects in technical, vocational stream, as well as marine sciences, and the new subjects that we are introducing, like aviation studies, that we are currently writing the curriculum for. So all this recognizes the importance of introducing skills required for the 21st century. Teacher development remains very critical, and my colleague, Mr. Rabutapi, will be speaking in more detail as to what are our plans in terms of teacher development, as well as the subject advisors, which is a very critical layer that supports teachers in teaching these subjects in schools. So I will skip some of these slides in the interest of time, Chairperson, assuming that members have received the presentation, so I will not speak to every slide. This slide here, in a graphical way, gives us the vision of NDP 2030 that says by 2030 we need to have 450,000 learners who are passing matrics, having bachelors, and having mathematics and physical science as their subjects. And the red bars are the ones that are giving you the targets to say, moving from 2017, these are the targets. By 2022, we need to be there. By 2026, we need to be at 322,000. By 2030, we need to be at 450,000. Now, the blue bars are showing us the number of learners who should be writing matric if we should get this number of learners in red, passing matric and getting bachelors with maths and science. The following slides are indicating the progress that we have made, and particularly focusing on the performance in 2021 for the technical subjects. This slide has EGD, has civil technology with its 3 specializations, electrical technology with its 3 specializations, mechanical technology with the 3 specializations. What is critical here, Honorable Chairperson, is to note that the performance, as demonstrated in column number 4 there, shows that we are doing very well in terms of performance in these subjects, all of them performing in the 90s, 91%, 94, 97%. So we are doing very well in terms of performance. The slide also gives you the performance in terms of quality indicators, number of learners and percentage passing at 40%, passing at 50, passing at 60, as well as those getting distinctions. So we're not only looking at learners who are passing at 30, but we're also tracking performance at higher levels that is required by the nation, as the Deputy Minister indicated that we need to produce the learners who are going to be able to study further into universities, into TVET colleges, so that we are able to supply the nation with the requisite skilled personnel. The next slide is similar to the first one, but speaking to the next set of subjects: mathematics, maths lead, technical maths, computer applications, technology, as well as information technology. You'll also see that for the MST subjects, all of them, we are doing very well. The 60% of technical maths, though it looks lower than other subjects, is something that is very good because it's an improvement from the previous year, where we had achieved 30-something% and we improved to 60.1%. Mathematics, we performed at 57.6%, which was also an improvement from the year 2020, and we will depict that in the next slides. The next slides give us the next set of MST subjects is the same in terms of 30%, 40, 50, 60, and so forth. Physical science performing at 69%, which was also an improvement from the year 2020. All other subjects doing very well. In terms of mathematics, our strategies, Honorable Chairperson, start right from GET, from the foundation phase, intermediate, senior phase, and then ending up with the FET. And since we do not have the national assessment, we track our progress in terms of international benchmark assessments, like TIMSS, like SACMEC, and PELS, and all other international benchmark assessments. So the next few slides give us the report in terms of our performance in 2019, in terms of TIMSS, which we filled the grade 5s and grade 9s. These are the learners who write TIMSS. And the slide here is giving us an indication of how we have performed in 2019. What we are raising here is that Western Cape, Gauteng, and Free State, the 3 provinces, are doing quite well, or they are our best performing provinces, and Northwest, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo are the 3 provinces that did not perform well in grade 5 TIMSS in 2019. The score here reaches 1,000, and the centerpiece is 500. So for you to interpret what does this 374 means in relation to the total scoring, members need to know that the 374 is below the centerpiece of 500, and that we are working towards ensuring that we perform at least at the required levels. The next slide is just supporting the previous one, giving you provincial breakdowns in terms of how they have done, including this slide here. This one gives you grade 9 performance in 2019. Still, Western Cape, Gauteng, and Free State being the 3 top performing provinces in grade 9, and the lowest performing this time being Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo. And as I indicated, none of the provinces, including our best performing provinces, none of them are close to the center point of 500. So it is something that is of concern to us. We are not the only country that is not performing at the 500 centerpiece mark, but we as South Africa would like to see ourselves cracking that half mark. This is just supporting the previous slide, including this one is just the graphical representation. This just gives the background to the design of teams itself. And this one as well, I will not spend time on that. But what I want to emphasize with the next slide, it tells the targets that we have as a country. It gives you the history in terms of teams from 2015 and 2019. The previous slides, the last slides that I presented were giving the 29 performance. But we show you right from 2015 how we performed. You can see that grade 5, we did not register any improvement for mathematics with a score of 376 and 374, which are almost similar. But in terms of grade 9, we registered an improvement. From 361, we improved by almost 30 points, which is something that is commendable. We have set ourselves a target for the next teams, and the next teams will be written, Honorable Chairperson, next year in 2020. And we say if we can hit 420 for both grade 5 and grade 9, we would be pleased with this. And the same goes with science as well, because the children are writing mathematics and science for teams. In terms of SACMEC, the last SACMEC was written in 2017, and the next one was written this year. It was concluded a few weeks ago. Our children wrote SACMEC, and we are waiting to see how SACMEC 5 children are going to perform. The issue that I needed to raise, Chair, okay, the next slide gives you the performance of SACMEC, the previous one, and how we intend performing. And it is grade 6 that is writing a SACMEC, and these are the targets that we have set ourselves as a country. Now, Chairperson, in terms of the next cohort, the children who will be writing teams next year, who are the grade 5s and the grade 9s? They are, this year, they are in grade 4 and grade 8. And we are targeting these children, working with their teachers to ensure that we don't just present these children for teams next year when we have not supported them. We have, as part of the interventions, distributed the previous teams' question papers to the teachers so that teachers can get a sense of the difficulty levels that they need to expose the children to as they teach them throughout the year, so that these children are prepared for the next teams. The same approach that we take with the grade 12s, that we don't wait for children to write grade 12, but while they're still in grade 11, we put intervention programs in place that include Saturday classes and other interventions that prepares them for the grade 12 that they'll be writing the following year. We are going to do this even for the teams that is going to come after this one. We need to identify the cohort that will be writing the next teams in 2017 and know exactly where they are, so that for a period of 3-4 years, we support these children intensely and intentionally, so that by the time they write teams, they have been supported and have been exposed to a high level of question papers and high level of teaching. when it comes to FET mathematics, the first thing that I want to speak to is the issue of participation. And this slide here, Honorable Chairperson, gives members a sense of how each province is doing in terms of enrolling learners. But perhaps let me start with the consolidated, which is national, to say from 2018 to 2019, 2020, and 2021. In 2018, the cells highlighted in yellow there demonstrate or gives a report of what percentage of learners out of the entire cohort of grade 12s wrote mathematics. And it says in 2018, 45.6% of learners wrote mathematics. We saw that number dropping, or that percentage dropping, to 44%. And that number dropped again, or that percentage dropped again to 40%. And it dropped further to 36.8%, which means this is not a good picture. To say we cannot have only 36% of our grade 12s doing mathematics, simply meaning the rest of the learners, which is 63% of our learners doing maths lit. And these are the children who are not going to assist us to grow the economy. So it is something that we are working on, and we need to continuously work on this to ensure that we turn the tides on this one. And the participation per province, this one is just supporting the previous slide, including, the next one. But what I need to highlight here, Chairperson, is that I would like you and honorable members to pay attention to provinces that are highlighted in red. Because these are the provinces that are not contributing towards the national aspirations, towards the national goals and the national targets that the Deputy Minister referred to. And those provinces, you can see, it's Free State, it's Gauteng, it's Northwest, it's Northern Cape, as well as Western Cape. And I wish to lift Free State, Gauteng, and Western Cape, because these are the three provinces that we always celebrate as producing good results, as the best performers every time we celebrate our matric results. But the secret in getting those good results is in getting as little number of learners as possible into offering mathematics, is to try to get as many learners as possible to do mathematical literacy. So as we celebrate their performance, we need to understand what is much deeper in that. If you look at a province like Eastern Cape, in 2018, they had more than half of their matriculants writing mathematics at 55.5%. The same with KZN at 53.1%. The same with Limpopo at 51.1%, and Mpumalanga at 54.3%. More than half of the matriculants were writing mathematics. But because of the glory that we give to Free State, Gauteng, and Western Cape, Eastern Cape decided that they are going to drop their mathematics enrollments as well. As you can see, Eastern Cape in 2021, the number or the percentage of learners writing mathematics dropped from 55% in 2018 to 48%. But this is still not that very bad. If you look at KZN, honorable member, in 2018, 53.1% wrote mathematics. When you look at 2021, they dropped from 53% to 36%. About 17% drop in terms of number of learners offering mathematics. And it is all because they're looking at provinces like Gauteng, Western Cape, and Free State and say, why should we be offering more learners, more than half, when Free State, Gauteng, and Western Cape, who are being celebrated, are not offering, are not encouraging learners to take mathematics. So this presents a national problem because of these kinds of trends. But this slide on its own, if you just spend time on this, you'll see each province and the progress for the last 4 years. Honorable Chairperson, something that we need to celebrate is that over the years, we have worked on getting as many girls as possible in offering mathematics. And this slide here shows you that in 2021, we had more girls writing mathematics in grade 12 than the boys. 58.6%, close to 60% of all matriculants last year, and 60% of all learners who wrote mathematics last year, they were girls, and only 40% were boys. So this is one other big achievement that we need to celebrate. Now, moving out of participation and moving to performance for mathematics, this graph here, Honorable Chairperson, gives you our performance right from 2015 to 2021. You will see that the graph is rising for a period of 1, 2, 3, 4 years, from 2015 to 2018, that we were steadily registering improvement in terms of performance in mathematics. Contrary to the belief that there is no improvement in mathematics, we did experience a drop in 2019 and 2020. We cannot attribute the drop in 2019 to COVID, because COVID hit us in December or in March of 2020, the effects of COVID when we experienced the national lockdown. It was in 2020. So the drop in 2019 cannot be attributed to COVID. It was a drop that happened, and we needed to turn it around. What is good is that in 2021, we improved from the 2 drops that we see, and we took it back to 58%, 57.6, rounded up to 58% that we experienced, that we achieved in 2018. We are working hard to ensure that we register the further improvement, meaning the improvements that we saw from 2015, we need to see them and the graph moving up like that once again. The next slide is just the bar graph representation of the previous slide that shows improvement from 2015 right up to 2018, where we registered the improvement, and then there was a drop in those 2 years, and then we managed to turn it around in 2021 to 57.6. Our first and immediate goal is to hit that 60% psychological ceiling. If we can just hit 60%, the idea and the wish is that we must go beyond and not just hit it. And why 60%? Because we have never hit 60% in the history of our country. That is why it would be a huge achievement if we hit 60% ceiling. We would like to go beyond that, and we are working on that. Chairperson, we look at the performance, and in terms of the qualities, as I indicated earlier on, but this time is for mathematics. And we're giving you a breakdown per province as to how each province is performing at 30%. Nationally, as I indicated in the previous slide, right at the bottom there, we obtained 57.6% last year in 2021. But in terms of quality passes, from 40%, you'll see that we got 37.6% at 50%, at 60%, and 60% and above as well. We give that breakdown. So when we track learner performance, we also look at how many of these quality passes are we obtaining in these subjects. Maths performance per province at 30% and above, it just gives you an expanded breakdown of the slide that I gave you previously. You'll see which provinces are performing well. You see Gauteng is performing, last year it performed at 68.2%. Northwest performed at 71.5%, Western Cape at 73.3%. But I want you to remember, Chairperson, when I said look at the provinces in red in terms of participation, when it comes to performance, because their learners are few, they are able to get them to pass. That is why they come and you see these bars that are, my apologies, the ones that are in green that are performing very well. When it comes to 50% and above, you see that now Free State is not doing so well, Mpumalanga is not doing so well in terms of comparison with other provinces. The province that is doing very well at 50% and above is Northwest, as well as Western Cape at 39.1%. That is the highest performing Western Cape. But have this at the back of your mind. These are few learners that are doing mathematics in this province. The same as 60%, I will skip that. The same at the number of distinctions per province. So we count them. Chairperson, what is celebratable here is that when you look at 2019, the number of distinctions were 4,415. And then in 2020, we almost doubled the number of distinctions from 4,400 to 7,400, almost doubled. We increased them by 3,000, which is almost 80% improvement in terms of the number of learners who obtained distinctions. And when it came to 2021, we registered a further improvement in terms of the number of learners who get distinctions by getting 7,725 learners getting distinctions. We want to increase these numbers and ensure that we cross the 8,000 mark in terms of the number of distinctions. One other thing that we do is that we look at the districts when we do the analysis, the top performing districts in mathematics. We know we also have the top performing districts in grade 12, in matric. But here we zoom only mathematics, which are the districts that are giving the best passes. And you will see that a majority of them are from Gauteng, Western Cape and Free State, Tshwane South, Metro North, that's the Western Cape, Metro Central, that's Western Cape, Fezile Dabi, that is a Free State, Tshwane North, that is Gauteng, Johannesburg, and you've got Overberg in the Western Cape. You have Northwest has done Dr. Kenneth Kaunda district there. But I want you, Chairperson, to remember that I said these are the provinces that are presenting very low number of learners offering mathematics. So they are going to do very well in this subject. So this number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, we must look at them in context. We also look at the bottom performing provinces. And a majority of them, you will see that they come from Eastern Cape. They come from KZN as well. And the reason why we do this analysis is to inform our support programs, so that when we support, we know that if we get these provinces, these districts here, if we get them to improve, if we get Amatole West and Amatole East and Sikukuni East and Chris Hani to improve, we know that we are going to improve the sector. Because if you don't know where the weaknesses are in the system, you may not be able to direct your resources, your interventions to where they are needed most. There are those districts that don't require much support, and there are those that require support. So when we send our specialists out to provinces to do monitoring and support, we send them to these districts. They work with teachers there, they work with schools, they work with learners to ensure that we improve on that. We have, Honorable Chairperson, in terms of working towards the target of the NDP, we have set targets for maths for all the provinces, and we break them down for MTSF, but we will also work towards 2030, as I indicated in the opening slides. But for the next 3 years, these are the targets that we have set ourselves. You can see that we've got those national targets. We have broken them down per province Each province knows how many learners they need to get who must pass at 60% and above. The same, they know how many learners must pass at 50% and above, each province. And they know how many learners must pass at 30% and above for the MTSF. When coming to science, it's similar. We have been registering improvement, Chair. Since 2015, you can see the graph, though it is not as steep as that of mathematics, but it is showing that improvement from 2015 right up to 2019, where we registered 75.5%, coming from 58.6% in January in 2015. So you will see that there is an improvement of about 16% in physical science in the country. We experienced a drop in 2020. This one we can attribute exclusively to COVID. Schools were closed. This is a subject that needs children to be in laboratories. They need to conduct experiments. And in 2020, they could not conduct experiments. So it impacted on the performance. But we got that 65.8%. In 2021, we improved it by almost 5% to 69%. We wanted to go above 70% like we did in 2018 and 2019. We are working on that. We are glad that Cabinet directed that we go back to full attendance and children are being exposed to experiments. And we hope that the challenges that we experienced in 2020, we are not going to experience them in 2021. This is just a bar graph representation of the previous one, showing those improvements from 2015 to 2021. This performance of physical science at 30%, I will not spend time. It's the analysis is the same as that of mathematics. But one thing that you will see at national level there, that you can see that physical science, we are doing very well, 74%, 75%, 65, which was a drop, 69. You can see in physical science, we are doing relatively well. We also have that breakdown at 30%, at 40%, at 50%, at 60%. Let me not spend much time on that. Physical science, we also have targets. We have said, broken it down per province. These are the targets for the MTSF. And we say this is where we need to be in terms of participation for physical science. And in terms of performance, this is a breakdown. These are the targets. This is where we need to be by 2023. You can see that this year we gave ourselves a target of 71.8%. We want to break that 70% ceiling and hit that 71.8%. And next year, 2023, hit 74.8%. And these are the performance and the targets at 50%. Here, we now present the technical subjects. Very, very important in terms of 3 streams model, in terms of our skills development approaches, in terms of producing the welders, bricklayers, mechanics, woodworkers, civil technologies, digital electronics. This is what we are doing. Children who can fix televisions when they're broken, a child who can fix an electrical wire, children who can fix an engine of a car. Our technical high schools are assisting us in terms of achieving this key goal of government. The biggest challenge, Chairperson, is participation. If you look at civil technology, the first subject there, civil services, only 627 learners across all 9 provinces offered this subject last year, 2021. And you can see that the numbers are very low, considering the number of matriculants that we have. Our biggest challenge with this subject is participation. You saw when it came to performance, when I presented it, all these subjects are in the 90s. But like I indicated, when the numbers are small, you are most likely to do well. It is logical that the performance must be very high. And it is demonstrated on the bottom rows there, demonstrated. You can see the 90s, 97, 98, 96, 95, 97. And it is all because the numbers are low. We expect the performance to be at those levels. Chairperson, We also have other subjects, CAD and IT. I will not spend time on those in the interest of time, so that Mr. Rabitapi may then come with the teacher development, as I indicated that he'll be speaking to those support to subject advisors and to teachers as well. One other key thing that we have done, Chairperson, in trying to understand what is that is the real problem. There are a number of things that are contributors to the problem that we are facing. One of them is the league system. The league system, where provinces want to be number 1 and the other one must be number 9, is the one, as I indicated, that contributes towards low enrollment that we are trying to deal with. The second thing is that when we analyzed our curriculum, as I'm presenting from the curriculum point of view, our curriculum is very wide, but very shallow. It is not deep. When we teach number sense, for instance, we just scratch on the surface, and we don't teach this very deep for children to understand to the depth of this topic. And all because our curriculum, we teach our curriculum is loaded with a whole lot of things. But what we have done, and COVID presented us with the opportunity, was to trim the curriculum. And we removed all other topics that we viewed as additional and were not critical and key and foundational in terms of scaffolding of knowledge into subsequent grades. So we have only left topics that are necessary for a child to know and understand if they are to do well in the next grade. So this is in line with international trends, like countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Finland, that are doing very well in mathematics, and China. Their curricula is very thin, is not wide, but it's very deep, affording children an opportunity to grasp and acquire fundamental and foundational knowledge, concepts, and skills that are going to assist them to do well. We have taken a decision as part of our recovery plan that even when we are post-COVID, we are not going to go back to that wide curriculum policy document, but we are going to continue with a trimmed curriculum. We hope and we believe that this is going to address and assist us address the challenges that are brought about by the wide curriculum. Chairperson, let me stop at that, and thank you for affording me the opportunity to make the presentation of our strategies, as well as the challenges that I reported to honorable members, and some of the strategies that we are using to mitigate the challenges, and as well as the progress that we have registered that shows improvements, but we acknowledge that we still need to do much more so that we come and report even better performance to the portfolio committee. Chairperson, thank you very much. Thank you, Acting DG.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tlhabane. Mr. Rabitapi.
Thank you very much, Acting DG. I'm gonna ask Mr. Mahada to please manage the presentation for me. Let me greet the Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. Let me also greet the Honorable Deputy Minister, the Acting DG, and the other departmental officials. So part B of the presentation is what we are doing in teacher development to support the strategy as presented by Mr. Tlhabane. Our key role, of course, is to ensure that the capacity of the teachers to deliver the curriculum is enhanced. With regard to math, science, and technology in particular,
our interventions are informed by the national priorities, and these are guided, of course, by your NDP. There's also Mtsf and other, the APPs. Those are some of the national priorities. But we are also following the direction that our curriculum is taking. For an example, the issue of the 3 streams model, we've got to make sure that our teachers are able to be capacitated, but the focus also on giving our teachers the skills relevant for the 4th industrial revolution. There are also the issues around learner performance, and I think Mr. Tlhabane has outlined some of the performance issues, some of which have got implications in terms of what teachers themselves are able to do. Then we also have a program of teacher diagnostic assessments. And through this program, what we want to achieve is to help us to identify the teacher needs so that our programs, when we design them, can then address specifically what the needs of the teachers are. And we are relying, of course, on collaboration with Siavula self-assessment platform. And then, of course, we are also fully conscious of the fact that the COVID-19 has impacted our systems very negatively, and there is a need for us to support the rebooting of the system and ensure that we support our teachers in terms of implementing proper programs for recovery. Next slide. So, Chair, what this slide is explaining is that for the past few years, since around 2017, our key focus has been on FET, mathematics, and science. We have been working with subject advisors and teachers to try and support them, particularly those areas where there was gross underperformance. And there were also topics that were identified in the diagnostic report that shows that the learners were not performing, in particular those topics, which was an indication that perhaps teachers were not properly teaching those topics. So we had isolated those topics and provided dedicated support to underperforming districts in relation to how to teach those specific topics. Coming now to 2021, the indication is that we needed now to refocus our attention to the lower grades. Hence now, our focus is on grade 8 and grade 9, as well as grade 4 to 6, so that we are able to also lay a solid foundation, and we are not only focusing on FET. Next slide. So these are some of the attendance figures that we have recorded in terms of the support that we provided for FET in terms of those topics that I have referred to. Next slide. Now, in terms of senior phase chairperson, as I've indicated, the focus is largely on grade 8 and 9. And we are focusing largely on mathematics as well as natural sciences. We have started this program since September 2021, and we have developed training manuals for the teachers, and we have also provided training for the teachers in these subjects. We have had to, of course, use the online platform that we developed in collaboration with MTN, where we were able to use buyback billing in order to address issues of data for the teachers. So that's how we have been able to provide training to these teachers. Next slide. These are the topics for the 2 subjects that we have covered, particularly for grade 8 and 9. Next slide. This is the slide that is reflecting some of the attendance figures in the districts that we targeted. Next slide. Right, so the technical maths and technical science are relatively new subjects, so we felt that it was necessary to also continue to providing support in this subject, although there is an indication that performance in the subject is improving. But we felt that we needed to really provide support to the teachers so that we can continue to improve their ability to manage and to be competent in the 2 subjects. Next slide. Well, I think Mr. Tabane covered part of this slide when he was referring to some of the performance on technical maths and technical science. So I will not repeat it. So, Chair, part of our strategy of rolling out support for teachers is to also use partnerships as part of our approach. And one of the organizations that we have partnered with is the NECT, where we worked together with them to provide support for grade 4 to 9 natural science. And this was a program that focused on subject advisors, and we covered those 4 provinces. And also, we also focused on the recovery plan in January 2021, which was supported by resources that included the trackers for tracking the annual teaching plans. So this program was conducted in July and August 2021. Next slide. These are some of the attendance figures in terms of that training. Next slide. Right, so this is another partnership, Chairperson, that we entered into in collaboration with the Chinese Embassy. As we are aware that the Chinese Embassy provided support to us during our National Teaching Awards, and part of the commitments that they made was to provide support to us in terms of running a program that focused on mathematics. And this consisted of about 40 participants, and it happened from the 10th to the 21st of January 2022. And it was facilitated by lecturers from China Central Normal University. And there were also resources and presentations that were provided. And this course was actually provided also at the DBE. Next slide. This is another partnership project. This one we are running with the French Embassy, which also focuses on the science. It's called the Lama Project, which is based on an inquiry-based science education. It is covering about 50 schools in 5 districts, and the participating schools are being provided with science kits, and teachers in these schools were actually trained So there are 10 schools from each of the 5 districts that participated. And this is a program that we are running for over 2 years, and it will be accompanied by an evaluation program. And this evaluation will actually inform future approaches in terms of how we approach the teaching of science at this level. Next slide. These are the attendance figures and the dates on which the training was conducted. Right, I've spoken briefly about the issue of the diagnostic assessment. This is something that we have been doing for the past 5 years to try and get teachers to participate in diagnostic assessments, particularly in mathematics and physical science. And the next table, if we can go to the next slide, shows the participation figures per province. And you will realize, Chairperson, that the numbers of teachers who are taking these assessments continue to remain low. So there is a reluctance on behalf of the teachers to actually undertake these assessments. We are continuing to engage them through their teacher unions to try and encourage more teachers to actually participate in these assessments. Next slide. So the other area of focus, as we indicated, Chair, is around fourth industrial revolution. And we have been working with different partners to try and provide our teachers with skills for the fourth industrial revolution. We have developed a teacher development framework that identifies some of these skills and competencies that teachers must have. And we have also liaised with Department of Higher Education and Training, because we want these skills to actually be embedded in the programs for initial teacher education. But over and above that, Chair, we have worked with the ETDP-SETA to develop an online teacher development platform. So as we speak, that platform is currently live. We are busy providing training to people who will be content developers, who will be content moderators. So it's a very exciting development, and we would appreciate, Chair, an opportunity to come and present this platform also to the portfolio committee at some stage, because we believe that it is going to be a game changer in terms of how we conduct our programs for teacher development going forward. But then we've also worked with other partners like Oracle, in this case, which is also assisting us with ICT platforms. We've been running radio and television programs in collaboration with the NECT. Also during COVID, where schools were closed, we sustained teaching and learning through these platforms. We have also provided training to provincial education officials on digital skills, and we have been running a program also on digital skills for foundation phase teachers. So we are moving aggressively towards ensuring that our teachers are provided with skills for the changing world. This is another key intervention, Chairperson, on the tools for impact evaluation. I think that for quite some time, there were questions asked about whether our programs really making an impact? Are they making a difference in the classroom? So it was for that reason that we decided to embark on this process of developing tools for impact evaluation. Now, these are tools that are generic and they can be adapted at any level of the system, being it within a classroom, in a school, or at a district level, or even at national level. So we have provided training to our provinces on these tools for impact evaluation, and we will be working with the provinces to ensure that these tools are actually put into practice. Next slide. So this is just indicating there are 6 tools all in all, and as it is reflected on the slide, the tools are targeting the different areas: your foundation phase, senior phase, and intermediate phase, FET. There is also a tool for classroom observation, the tool for SMT, and a tool that can be used, of course, at the district level. Next slide. Right, so this next few slides is just a reflection of some of the work that is also done in provinces. So I had been focusing mainly on the work that we have been doing at the level of the DBE, but then our provinces as well deliver programs for teacher development, and these 3 slides reflect just some of the programs that have been run by provinces in relation to the 2 subjects. Right, so in terms of going forward, Chairperson, some of the plans we are indicating here that we will continue in the current year and next year our focus on grades 8 and 9 for maths and natural sciences. We'll focus also on your technical maths as well as your technical science. We are going to continue with the partnerships that we have through the NECT, bringing AMESA on board, and also to note that we will be working also with our teacher unions through the teacher union collaboration to conduct some of these programs. Next slide. Right, so I think in terms of going forward, I've also referred to our online platform. We are going to continue to encourage teachers to take teacher diagnostic assessment. And the reason being that, Chairperson, our approach from teacher development is that we need to change the mindset so that the delivery of teacher development programs is no longer the sole responsibility of the DBE, the districts, and the provinces, but we can provide opportunities for teachers to engage in their own professional development. And through the online platform, we will be able to make resources available to teachers so that even those that we are not able to reach through our training interventions, then they can be able to access the online platform and access quality material that they are able to use. The platform is loaded with a number of features, and some of the features are the online professional learning communities that will also allow teachers to actually collaborate with each other. And this will give us an opportunity to rely also on the expertise and competence that is there within our teaching core, so that the skills and competencies that are there from our experienced teachers, that they can be able to share this also with the young and upcoming teachers. And those are some of the features that our online platform is providing us with. That's why we think that it would be important for us to come and present the platform to the portfolio committee. Of course, we are going to continue to strengthen the functionality of our institutes and district teacher development centers so that through them, we can ensure that our platform becomes functional, our tools for impact assessment, that they can become functional. We have relied on these institutes and the teacher centers to roll out training for teachers on skills for a changing world. And we believe that going forward, they are going to continue to play a critical role in changing the landscape in terms of improving the capacity of our teachers. Next slide. So in a nutshell, Chair, that's the work that we have been doing in teacher development. There's still a lot that we still need to do in this regard in terms of ensuring that we cover as many teachers as possible, but not only rolling out of these programs, but ensuring that they are impactful and that they are able to make a difference in the classroom. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy Minister and Acting DG. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, DM, and to both the presenters, and Dr. Rabutabi and Dr. Kabane. Members, that's the presentation of MST. Can I note hands? And please, they are requesting that if members are having a good network, can they put on their video as Parliament is streaming the meeting live. There is a hand of Nodada and Dr. Tembekwayo. Okay. Siwela and Memashabela. And at once. Okay. So for now, can we allow then Nodada to lead the questions?
Thank you so much, Chair. Chair, I have load shedding. I think it's coming back in the next 11 minutes on my side. So I don't know even if I'm audible right now, Chair.
You are audible.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I won't be able to put on my video because I'm in the dark. But with that being said, Chair, I want to thank the department for the presentation. I think the first presenter is probably one of the most honest presenters I've listened to ever since I've arrived in the Basic Education Portfolio Committee. I just want to say that generally when it comes to maths and science, or let me just say the STEM subjects that have been presented today, we are in trouble. And I'm glad that COVID has given us, a chance to trim the curriculum. But I do think that there is some further learning and alignment that we can get from countries like Ghana, Kenya, and Finland. I know some of them have been mentioned, but to also further trim the curriculum so that it's not, quantity over quality, but we do go into depth. When I was analyzing the 3-stream curriculum model, I do want to commend the department for coming up with that, because I think it is responsive. It's responsive to general knowledge that we will require for the changing, economy. The economy is always changing. Today we talk about 4th Industrial Revolution. Previously we would have talked about the 3rd Industrial Revolution. Some would argue that we're in the 5th Industrial Revolution. But also there are those skills that you require that are needed in industry. You can also use it for entrepreneurship and so on. So my first question around the issue of trimmed curriculum linked with the 3-stream model is that in South Africa, we've got, a lot of mines around diamonds, gold, platinum. And I hear little talk about us being able to develop a stream around innovation or even linked to technical skills in refineries of those particular resources that are available to us. Botswana does it in their schooling system, where they offer, a curriculum that deals with some of the skills that are required in the mining industry, and they are aligned with their university degrees that they offer, and ultimately, they kind of own the value chain. The reality of the South African model is that we mine and we send away, and then we buy from American Express or whatever the name is. So I wanted to check, is there a possibility, part and parcel of having a trimmer curriculum, but focus being much more effective on skill development and being responsive to the economy? Would it be wise to add a stream or an additional, what we call subjects that are responsive to the skills that are required by industry and the economy? It's all good and well to say, we need to have more learners in civil engineering, technology, and other subjects that need to be taken up on the technical stream, which is all good. But also at the same time, we are having gaps of not having a curriculum that's responsive to that particular space. So that would be my first question, and it would be quite interesting to hear the response on it. The second thing is that the Western Cape has recently done what we call the systematic test, and I know the National Department said they will be doing these. And, in their system, systemic test, it shows that, maths has dropped by over 106%, mainly in the foundation phase and intermediate phase. And it actually is quite interesting that the presentation indicates that there are less and less learners that actually take maths. And I think maybe that should then, when we do the announcement of results, we must go into detail on that, so that we don't applaud provinces that are purging learners in maths, science, and technical subjects for them to be praised, of having a high pass rate. Because the reality of the situation is that you can have these glamorous matric result announcements and celebrate and clap and all of that. But those learners, at the end of the day, as much as we might want to clap for them, where are they going to end up in terms of the job market, entrepreneurship, industry, or innovation? And we must be honest with ourselves that we do have a problem. And if we do have a problem, we need to be able to have strategies in place for higher uptake. But there won't be higher uptake if, for example, the schools in rural and township areas are not capacitated in terms of equipment required for science and maths. I'll tell you now in Zwelicha and Mount Frere, there, they don't even have any form of equipment when it comes to science. But if I take you just here in Bonneville, in the Western Cape, you will find that all the equipment there is available. Obviously, that is going to discourage learners. It's going to also contribute to them not being able to do well in these subjects. So do we then review, one, the material that is available for them to be able to succeed in those schools, or we just saying, take up these subjects, and if the support mechanisms are not there in place, still take them up nonetheless? So do we have adequate support mechanisms put in place, particularly for the uptake of maths and science? And I ask this in the context of rural and township schools. Not so much maybe township schools, but rural schools. Do we look at that? I looked at the contribution from KZN, the Eastern Cape, and Limpopo. It's quite lengthy on their challenges, and it lists resources, it lists teachers. Northern Cape and Northwest say they can't even attract technical maths teachers. So I think it's part and parcel of us saying that let's increase the uptake. Let's make sure that the mechanisms that are put in place for support to make sure that those learners do succeed are there. The suggestion I want to make to the department is that we've got this Funza Lushaka bursary, and I've been asking questions around this, and I've got a full report on it. There's an opportunity and a gap there where we can identify specific learners, give them some sort of incentive to attract them to study these math, science, and technical subjects, for them to be able to go to varsity and be able to teach these. And it's important for us to do that and be specific on those, because that is how we're going to be able to develop a personnel or staff base where we can be able to pick from to be able to enhance these type of subjects. At this point in time, we don't have that. If you go to Vasti with the Funza Lushaga bursary, some learners get there, they change these subjects, that they're supposed to be studying towards and teach at the later stage, whether it's for FET phase or intermediate phase, whatever the case may be. So there's an opportunity, there's a gap there. And I want to get from the department as part and parcel of your plans in making sure that there is a development in terms of teachers. Do you have a specific percentage of the bursary that you allocate to developing these STEM subject teachers in particular? The last one, Chair, that I just want to check with the department. We've got teachers already in the system that are there, that are already teaching these subjects. And I do think that from my analysis, I think Northwest University is the only institution of higher learning that actually offers a degree in technical maths and technical science. I can be corrected there. But there needs to be a discussion amongst the education ministers on how these offerings are not just limited to a certain university to develop or left to a certain university to develop these teachers. And in terms of them being placed, in these different provinces, obviously they'll be attracted to your Gauteng, your Western Cape initially. And, provinces like Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest suffer because there is no incentive to attract these type of teachers. And that's why when we did oversight, Chair, if you will remember, that was the main complaint, that we don't even have a teacher that, is qualified in technical maths, but we use, somebody who was a previous engineer in some company to come and teach this thing for us. So is there some sort of collaboration in developing a pipeline of this curriculum that we do have in the 3-stream model being translated to university degrees that people can be able to acquire as a teaching qualification to later on come in and do the teaching? And I ask this, from a naive point of view, but maybe they could be, but maybe the department can maybe give us an update on that. Thank you so much, Chair.
Assistant
Thank you,
Boyd.
Chairperson. Thank you for the presentation. The Eastern Cape province, which is characterized by a number of rural districts, and yet at the same time characterized by vacant posts throughout the system, as such ranked 9th out of the 9 provinces. How do you intend to remedy this problem? And if you have the intention thereof, when will they be? Second question is based on, is the following. How do you intend to augment the serious shortage of qualified and competent educators in the rural Eastern Cape, including the competence of curriculum advisors and the inadequate ratio of curriculum advisors of the teachers, not forgetting the absence of follow-up classroom support, as with KZN, Limpopo, and Northwest? How can you explain the non-existence of the ICT in teaching and learning in the vast majority of schools that were selected by the Eastern Cape province for the investigation? The Dinaledi schools have not been very successful in serving as hubs of support and mentoring in maths and science for other schools. How do you intend to improve the compliance of the Dinaledi schools, which are struggling to comply with the national requirements, such as 60% of the learners in FET who must take mathematics? Can you embark on the research in connection with the code switching as a contributory factor towards the failing of mathematics in your project by the learners? The last question, do you have a possibility of setting up an intense program of unemployed science and maths graduates with a view to advocate teaching as a career choice, including possible deployment to schools. Thank you, Chairperson.
Roswella?
Thank you, Chairperson, and good evening to the colleagues. Well, let's appreciate the effort that the department is making in teaching our learners and the effort that is being made to ensure that these learners actually succeed. However, Chair, I've got two questions that I need to ask. The first question is, how is the department using Funza Lushaka bursary to train more maths and science teachers? And how does the department ensure they are placed timelessly? And does the department shift teachers who are not specialized to other subjects, or they are retained? Secondly, how is the department leveraging technology to enhance learning for the learners in science and mathematics? Thank you.
Honorable Shabela?
No, thanks. Thanks, Chair. So I'm just saving some few inputs here, Chair. On the national strategy, MST strategy, the recommendation that the department establishes a senior management level to review and overhaul the original strategy into a comprehensive national MST strategy, which includes plans to implement, monitor, evaluate, manage, and report on the systematic role of the strategy, must also include a comprehensive analysis on continuous teacher development and support. Then the reviewed MST strategy must also centralize language in teaching and learning and get extensive input from teachers and learners. And again, the other input which I want to make, Chair, the internships linked to unemployed science graduates could be linked with the teacher assistant program and made permanent feature in enhancing the MST program. Then the last input, Chair, which I want to make, the 30% pass mark as benchmark, especially for maths and science. If the objective is to get learners into university, 30% is inadequate for university entrance and should not be considered unless it is just for data analysis. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Advance? I think it's out there, Honorable Advance. Let me just double check. I know she said she is again struggling. Yeah, she's not in. Okay, no, from my side, I think I must also thank you for the presentation, which in my view is it's sort of an emotional presentation, man, especially the one that is done by Ntate Tlhabane. It's not telling good news. It's not telling good news in terms of our learners doing mathematics countrywide. And I think we really need to be worried because if this status quo doesn't change, we are going to sit with a serious problem in the next 10 years as a country. We are not going to have people that are going to be able to lead this country. And be able to lead the economy of this country. And I think we need to make blatant reflections and honest reflections. And we must also, in doing that, try to find solutions. The first slide, under problem statements, it is acknowledging that we've got low participation of mathematics across provinces. We've got low participation in technology subjects across provinces. We've got low quality of passes in SMT subjects across provinces. And we've got underperformance of maths and science at all levels. And looking now into the presentation, particularly on maths participation, where you are reflecting that from 2018 till to date, we were at 45%. And in NSC last year, we were at 36%. Now, in 4 years, we have dropped by 9%. It's a lot. It's a lot to drop by 9%. And our maths performance as a country is at 57.6%. I think we really need to be worried with the state. And I want to ask a question. Out of 259, which you are reflecting, 259 run for the 3 learners that entered into 2021 exams that did mathematics in the 2021 NSC. What happened to the 143 that did not achieve the mathematics? Where are they? What are they doing? Because they might not have achieved mathematics, but they did mathematics. And to me, I think that's what is important. Are we able to track them? Are we able to say where are they and what are they doing with the mathematics that they are having, even if it's a mathematics that they have failed? But can we say as a department, if tomorrow we would need to go and dig them so that we must improve their results? Are we going to find ourselves in a situation where we can do that? You said that for 2023, I mean, look, for 2023, grade 5 and grade 9 maths and science, your Mtsf targets, you are planning to reach 420 score. Now, the baseline that is there from 2019 is 374. If one had to ask, is this achievable? And I'm raising this question on the basis that we are still recovering from COVID, which has made also a serious mess in our academic Are we realistic when we are saying that for 2023 our target is 420? Do we think that we are going to achieve that? And I'm raising this on the background that the learners who would be in grade 9 in 2023, they were in grade 6 in 2020 when the COVID started. And those who would have been in grade 5 in 2023, they were in grade 2 at the start of the pandemic. Now, considering the foundation gaps, which are weak, which we have just acknowledged in the presentation, they are weak in maths and science. How are you as the department preparing these learners to perform in SMT in order to achieve the 420 targets that you are putting for yourselves? Now, grade 6 SACMEC 5, the regional report, we are saying that all provinces in South Africa, they have performed under 500 mid-score, which I think we must commend. It is commendable. But can you make us understand what are the realities that lead to low performances in teams and PELs, and yet all provinces are scoring 500 and above at SACMEC? Can you make us understand these tests? How are they standardized? And then on the issue of the diagnostic assessment, what does the diagnosis say about the capacity and competence of teachers? Why are they reluctant? Why are our teachers reluctant to teach our kids mathematics and physical science? And I always go back to the oversight that we just had this year, January, when we went to the Northern Cape. And I'm not mentioning Northern Cape because I'm coming there, but the reality is there is a school we went to, I think in Nickerswop, where we were referred and told that it's only 10 learners out of the schools that have registered. And that is a senior school because it's grade 10, 11, and 12. It's only 10 learners that are doing pure mathematics in that school. And when we went to Francis Park, the high schools we went to, the numbers were very low. But also, we need to be realistic that teachers that are teaching mathematics now are foreigners, are not our people, are not people from our country. What happened to those? And I'm raising this because I'm taking an example from myself. You know, when I was doing grade 10, I went to an accounting class. I went to an accounting class and economics. But it's teachers that took me out of that class and take me to a mathematics and physical science class. Now, we don't have those teachers anymore. We don't have teachers who are able to see a capacity of a child and redirect that child to a class of a mathematics and physical science. We don't have South African teachers that have an interest of this country at heart. And what are we doing about that as a department? What happened to teachers? Are we saying all the teachers that we are having do not have an interest of teaching mathematics anymore? I mean, in our schools. Is the ETDP CETA training addressing the skills challenge for mathematics? But also, what happened to the Dinaledi schools? The schools that were meant to be there for mathematics and physical science. And I think one thing that at some point we need from the department is a presentation that will take us to those schools and their performances. Because we must be worried. I think really after this meeting, we must agree that we are worried of the future of this country. And one is not undermining the fact that there are vocational alternatives that, I mean, our children can can do. We commend that, and we want our children to go to those vocational alternatives. But the fact that the numbers are declining year in, year out of participation alone, let alone performance. If there is no energy from our learners to do mathematics, they don't want that class anymore. We need to find solutions. And as a country, we can do that. If COVID has shown us that we can respond to issues in 2 months, we can find solutions in this thing of mathematics, which is a worrying factor. We need to agree after this meeting that there needs to be interventions. There needs to be interventions. We can't be, I mean, what are we going to tell our children in the next 10 years when there are no people that are mathematicians in this country? When we were sitting in this committee, when we could see that there will be a problem in the future and we did nothing about it. We need to do something. And I think we need to agree that something needs to be done. We need also to recommend that from provinces that are doing well, that we know they are doing well, they need to twin up with provinces that are not doing so well. They need to share experiences. They need to share experiences, and they need to advise each other on how to handle this issue. But I think DBE, together with its provinces, you need a workshop on this matter, but you need also implementation. You need to find solutions on this thing of mathematics. It's worrying. Here, we are saying that physical science, which of course we must say that it is improving, it's a 69%. It has improved by 17%. But that improvement, if you look deeper into it, from 50 to 100%, it is about 27% or 23% or so. And then from 60 to 100% pass rate, it is about 17 or 18%. You know, so as much as there is improvement, but that improvement is not making any impact for a child to go and study at a university. And I think also from my side, I want to know from our teachers in our provinces, we need to know in our high schools, how many South African teachers do we have that are doing mathematics, that are teaching mathematics in our schools, and how many teachers that we have that are foreigners that are teaching mathematics in our schools. I think as this committee, we must be given that detailed report from all provinces. Just to show that our country now is in the hands of people that are not us. And we can't be happy. We can't be happy that if people that are doing mathematics now in our schools, that are teaching mathematics to our learners, people who are not from this country, of course, they will not care for the future of this country. So I think from my side, those are the things that I want to raise. And I will hand over then to the DM to lead the responses. Thank you, DM.
Chair, my network is not good. I can't open my video. Thank you very much for the questions and comments that we got from members who have noted some of the comments, which are, I think, are recommendations to take the process of maths, science, and technology forward. We really appreciate the comments by all members, starting from member Nodada up to the chairperson. I think these that you are coming with are brilliant ideas to help the country. May I choose to summarize in the end when the members have responded on specific questions. Allow me to give to Mr. Tlhabane, Mr. Rabutapi, as well as the acting DG to respond. Then I will just summarize in the end. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. I was going to suggest we start with you, Mr. Tlhabane, and then Mr. Rabutapi, before I will then summarize and hand back to the DM. Mr. Tlhabane.
Thank you very much, Acting DG. Thank you very much, Honorable DM and Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. Very important and critical questions and inputs, advice, recommendation as well from the portfolio committee members, and that is noted and appreciated. Honorable Nodada, the Department of Basic Education is driving what you call the focus school strategy, and CEM has approved establishment of 11 types of focus schools. And mining schools is one of the type of schools that must be established precisely to respond to the issues that you have raised. The purpose of these focus schools is to serve the economic development zones and to ensure that we supply those communities with learners who exit the schooling system with the subjects that can assist them to enter the economies of the communities within which they reside. And as you have ably raised this matter, the solution and the answer is on the establishment of the focus schools. The presentation that we have shared with honorable members indicate the new subjects that we have developed the curriculum for. That includes coding and robotics, that includes aviation, that includes marine sciences. And next in our batch of subjects that we need to develop is mining curriculum that should assist us to establish these type of schools with specific content, as you indicated, that is going to assist our learners to enter the entire value chain in terms of processing, mining, processing of these valuable minerals. So the department is responding to your concern in that way. Honorable Tembakwayo, with regard to the provision of ICTs, we have developed a plan to roll out ICTs in schools, working with provinces to ensure that ICTs are utilized and are deployed to schools. We work with mobile network operators who, through their licensing, there are obligations that are placed on them to support us in terms of rolling out ICTs. Provinces themselves, they set budgets aside and we track the budget allocations. You'd realize that in the APP, we have an APP that speaks about procurement of ICTs by provinces. So we do have a national plan that is supported by individual provincial plans. However, the rollout of ICTs is not only confined to tablets and laptops, but we use ICTs from what you call the low-end technology. that includes radio and television, that form part of our entire ecosystem in terms of ICTs. We work with local radio stations to deliver lessons in local languages, delivered by local top teachers and subject advisors, as well as regional radio stations and national radio stations. We have partnered with SABC to ensure that we provide lessons on dedicated channels as part of our broader ICT strategy. So it is not only about giving tablets to children, but it's about taking advantage of every form of technology that is available. We do have the MST conditional grant, within which, within the business plan, we also provide for ICTs. The question of Dinaledi schools emerged about twice. It was raised by yourself, Honorable Tembekwayo, and I think it was also raised by the chairperson. We have since changed the name of Dinaledi schools, but the concept is almost the same. We call them MST schools. We are, through the MST conditional grant, supporting at this point 1,000 schools across the country, resourcing them, ensuring that we expose learners to programs that will excite them in maths and science, like Olympiads and competitions. Their teachers are put through training programs. The schools are resourced, their workshops are resourced with machinery equipment. So through the concept of Dinaledi schools is still there. And what other provinces are also doing, Honorable Tembekwayo and Honorable Chair, is that to these Dinaledi schools, or MST schools as we call them now, they have what they call, Free State call them Dinaletsana. These are the primary schools that are feeding into the high schools that are targeted to enroll high number of learners in mathematics and science. KZN is doing the same thing as well, targeting primary schools to be able to be a part of the feeder mechanisms. The research in terms of the impact that code switching is having on the delivery of the subject. The research points at 2 points. One, there is research, and I know one of the persons who actually conducted the research is Professor Mamukhethi Sitati on the issue of code switching, which has revealed that when teachers code switch, children are able to understand the subject better. But the disadvantages that have also been reported with code switching is that when children write the examination, they only write in English. They don't write in English and isiXhosa or English and Setswana. But this argument also takes another shape when you say learners of an Afrikaans origin, their advantage, because when they get question papers come both in English and Afrikaans. So these children are able to code switch. If they don't understand a concept in Afrikaans, they quickly check in English, how is it written, and then they go back and answer it in Afrikaans. So, and the learners of Afrikaans origin, because of this advantage of code switching, they're able to do very well. So there is evidence that says code switching can contribute positively towards the acquisition of the content itself. However, as things are now, it may not be working for a child of Sepedi origin, because the question paper will not come in both languages. It will only come in English. So the child will not be able to go to the Sepedi page to go and check what this concept means or what this term means. So there are those inequalities that are there, but code switching itself, there is research that points to the fact that it can assist in terms of improving. Honorable Siwela, you spoke about how can technology be used to leverage the improvement of maths and science. I've partly responded to that when I spoke about technology, how we use it, from low-end technology that is able to reach even the far-flung areas, like radio. Every household almost has a radio, and the majority of the houses in the country has television, and we are using these mechanisms or these approaches as well. However, we don't just use this, we also go on to the high-end technology that require internet for those learners who have access to internet. But we also deploy digital content offline, so that children don't only have to access digital content using internet, but they can actually access it through what we call local content servers, where they're able to connect to a server that is preloaded with content, and they're able to access the content. So technology is a big part of our strategy in how we improve. Honorable Reneilwe, you spoke to the importance of listening to teachers and listening to learners. And as we conduct a comprehensive review of the MST strategy, that we must listen to teachers and we must listen to learners. We note that recommendation or that advice that you're giving us, and the debate around 30% being adequate or inadequate to say, it's a debate that we are following, but the message that we are driving as basic education is that we are not saying children must achieve at 30%, but we're saying 30% is the minimum that a child can attain for them to be able to be considered to have passed the subject. Let me make a quick reminder to members. When we were in school, the pass requirement was 25%. And members may not remember it because it was called lower grade. We had lower grade, standard grade, and higher grade. For you to pass a subject at higher grade, you had to get 40%. But if you failed to get a 40% and you had registered the subject in higher grade, it was converted to standard grade, but you needed to get 33 and a third percent for you to have been considered to have passed that subject at standard grade, though you had registered it at higher grade. So if you had obtained 36%, you failed to get 40%, so you did not pass at higher grade, but you were declared to have passed at standard grade, the very same subject. It was called conversion, if members would remember well. And a child who had registered the subject at standard grade, they had to get 33 and a third percent for them to pass at standard grade. But if a child who registered standard grade obtained 26%, that child was considered to have passed at 26%. It's not 30, at 26%. They were considered to have passed at lower grade. Yes, what is it that you can do with a pass at lower grade? The answer is simple, very little. And I think this is the message that we are getting from honorable members to say, we know 30%, we're not happy at 30%. What will a child do with a pass at 30%? The answer is very little. And consistently, honorable members, and correctly so, indicated that children will not be able to gain admission at universities. And the statement is correct. Members are correct that children can access programs at university with 30%. But you're also driving a message that says, we are not just teaching children to go to universities. We want them to take other opportunities like TVET colleges, because universities, the 27 universities that we have in the country, will not be able to admit every child. The 800,000 children who must come out of basic education, all of them knocking on university. It is for that reason that together we need to send a message that you don't necessarily have to get a university degree for you to participate in the economic landscape of the country. There are other options that are there. Even when you have a distinction in mathematics, if you choose to go to a TVET college because you want to pursue an engineering program there, feel free to do that. So the discussion around 30%, we noted, and that is the reason why we're also tracking performance at 40%, at 50%, at 60%, so that we are able to report to our accountability structures like portfolio committee on the progress that we are making in terms of getting learners to pass at 40%, at 50%, and that we must be able to demonstrate an improvement over the years, that the numbers of learners who are performing at those quality levels are increasing and that these numbers must not decrease. Honorable Chairperson, you raised many issues, and yes, you are correct that we need to look at ourselves and say, what is that you are going to say to ourselves in 10 years' time? What would have been our contribution? And that we need to be working hard, all of us, to ensure that we turn the tides. We need to also celebrate those achievements that we are making. But we must also be frank enough to be hard on ourselves to say we can do better. Your message was very strong, and it is strong because you believe that we can do better. That in as much as we are celebrating what we have achieved, we must set our targets higher. But at the same time, you're also warning us that when you set those targets, be realistic. Don't set targets that you will not be able to achieve, as you pointed to the targets that we gave ourselves in SACMEC and in teams, to say, are you going to reach the 420 mark that you gave ourselves? We don't know, Honorable Chairperson, but we can try and work hard and ensure that we support teachers and ensure that the TRIM curriculum is taught very well, and to ensure that we expose our learners to high order questions. As I indicated, that part of our strategy is to give teachers the question papers and for them to mediate them, so that when they set school-based assessment, they set them at a higher level that is going to expose children to higher order questions. Because SRC noted that one of the reasons why our children are unable to cope with questions in teams is because when we give them homework, when we give them school-based tests, we don't raise the bar. We give them low order questions, and Mr. Rabutapi and the team also work on ensuring that teachers are trained on how to set high order questions. And I think my last comment would be on, I think, a presentation that needs to be made by examinations. Dr. Polia and the rest, there was a comment that actually requires assessment to respond to. Unfortunately, I'm just scraping through my notes and I'm not seeing it. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for the opportunity you gave me to make the humble comments, but we truly appreciate the guidance that we're getting from the Portfolio Committee and holding us accountable to the work that we are doing. Thank you very much, DM. Thank you very much, Acting DG.
Thank you, Mr. Tlabane. Mr. Rabutapi, any comments from you?
Yes, no, thank you very much, Dr. Whittle, and thank you very much to the honorable members for the questions. So, Chairperson, I think the questions that have been asked fall into a number of categories. Firstly, there are questions that relate to issues of demand and supply. And the key question in this regard is whether do we have the right numbers that are available in our system that are assisting us to teach mathematics and physical science. And then there has also been questions relating to the Funza Lushaka bursary scheme as to whether through this bursary scheme, are we able to recruit learners who are adequate, and also are we able to place them appropriately where they are needed. And the same applies to the issue of the subject advisors in terms of whether do we have the right numbers of the subject advisors that are providing support to these teachers. So I categorize those questions under the broader issue of demand and supply. And I think that perhaps I would recommend to the acting DG that maybe we needed to get somebody from HR who could then give us credible information on the issue of demand and supply, because it also will touch on the continued reliance on foreign teachers, as the issue has been raised by our honorable chairpersons, so that we can be able to establish, because the issue of demand and supply starts with the quality of our recruitment. Whether are we recruiting people with the correct attributes? The Funza Lushaka bursary scheme itself sets priorities when recruitment is done. And mathematics and science is one of the priorities of the bursary in terms of recruitment. The issue of learners who change their subject after they are allocated a bursary and recruited, that issue has been addressed. So we no longer have a problem of these learners who change their subject at the university once they have been given a bursary. So the issues around placements, they are prioritized when placement is done. So the key issue is, once they are in the system, what is happening once they are in the system? So we are shifting now from demand and supply, moving to what is happening to these teachers when they are now in the system. Now, when they are in the system, there are a number of factors that, of course, we need to look at. During our training sessions, when we train some of these teachers, our observation is that some of them are not actually qualified maths and science teachers. And it perhaps explains why some of them actually struggle to teach some of the content because they lack the foundational skills of being able to teach the subject. And we are able to see some of these when we are in our training, and they are very difficult to train because they lack the actual conception. We normally conduct pre-assessment and post-assessment during our training session. And what comes out of those pre-assessments and post-assessments is a reflection of people who struggle with understanding some of the key concepts. Now, obviously, if a teacher struggles with key concepts, that is going to have an effect on the learners that they are teaching. Now, our next line then becomes the subject advisor, because when we train teachers, we train them with subject advisors. And when we release them to go back to their schools, then the responsibility is for the subject advisors themselves to ensure that they follow up. The responsibility is also for the SMTs to make sure that they follow up in terms of the training that we do. But Chairperson, if we check on what some of the good systems are doing, what we are able to pick up is that our approach to teacher development, the approach that we are using now, it's an approach that has been proven through literature that it's not an approach that has got the highest impact. Because when people are still trained by districts, by DBE, the level of understanding during the training is high. But when they go back to their schools, where they are supposed to implement what they have learned through training, then the level of implementation is low. Actually, chances are that when they go back and continue on their old trajectory as if training has not happened. So the training that we do through these workshops, it's not inducing the necessary behavior change. And that is why one of the things that we are focusing on as teacher development is to change that approach so that we can have teachers themselves being exposed to resources and teachers themselves being able to lead their own development, but we are able to provide support to them in terms of their own self-development. And literature shows that self-development is the most effective way of inducing behavior change, because then the initiative is with the teacher himself or herself. Now, it was on that basis that we have decided to develop the online platform, because through that platform, then teachers can have access to quality resources themselves. Teachers can rely on each other through PLCs and learn from each other in terms of how to improve their knowledge and competency. These are models that have proven to work worldwide. And what we need in our system is to change that perception and attitude of the teachers to say that development is not something that must be done by the district or by the province or by DVE, but development must start with the teacher themselves. So that mindset shift is what is critical. And that's what we have committed to as teacher development to ensure that that shift happens. Now, this links, Chairperson, to the question that you raised around the issue of diagnostic assessments. The reluctance by teachers to take diagnostic assessment is merely a reflection of lack of confidence. And so teachers don't want to be tested because they don't want to be exposed in terms of their weaknesses. Now, that is also a reflection of the problem that I have articulated. But if we are able to induce this mindset shift where teachers can be more confident to do things on themselves, we believe that even their participation in diagnostic assessments is going to improve. Now, this also links to the issue around how, as a system, we also treat people who engage in their own ongoing development. Now, the point that I'm coming to is the issue of accountability. Because in some instances, the reason why people don't implement that what they have learned is simply because of lack of consequences for doing that. And also, in other instances, is simply lack of an incentive for teachers to actually participate in ongoing development. And we believe that as a sector, we need to have an engagement around how do we appoint people like HOD and deputy principals in our schools, so that their appointment should be informed by demonstrated competence, because we expect these people to be able to provide support to teachers. You can only support if you continuously engage in your own development. And that culture of self-development is lacking currently in our system. And it's a culture that we want to inculcate. So the research chairperson that you referred to in terms of how many teachers teach maths, how many are foreigners, we have noted that, and we believe that it's an important research that we can use. And also the use of your unemployed graduates that has been referred to, how those can actually be used to support areas, particularly areas where there are challenges. But finally, Chairperson, Mr. Tlhabane also talked about the issue of the use of television and radio as resources or media for instruction. So our belief is that we need to heighten, and we used this, we still continue to use it as part of the WOZA metric intervention program. We believe that we need to get television sets in schools, because the advantage of that is that you can have learners being exposed to quality instruction by somebody who provides an instruction at a central place. But then we'll have to make sure that it becomes interactive and it's not just a teach and tell. These are things that we believe are doable, Chair, because the issue around ensuring that there are laboratories and resources in our schools, that there are teachers who will be well qualified, these are things that potentially will take a long time. But in the meantime, whilst we are still sorting out issues around the numbers, issues around the quality, we believe that through television, we can also induce that mindset shift so that learners can have access to quality instructions. Through television, we can do demonstration of some of the experiments that learners need to do. And we believe that television can actually be a game changer. So as part of the partnerships that we should look at is how can we ensure that we have these television sets in schools? And we believe that a combination of these factors, Chairperson, is going to lead us back into a positive trajectory. Unfortunately, there are no shortcuts in terms of how we can turn around the situation. In certain instances, we have to change our way of doing things, as I have explained. And if we are able to support and be consistent, then over time, this change will happen and we will be able to see the desired results. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rabutapi. Chairperson, if it's okay, and I'm very mindful of the time, but I want to make a few comments as well, and then I will hand back to the Deputy Minister. Chairperson, you know, the Secretary General of the United Nations has very recently described COVID as a worldwide generational catastrophe. And that is quite important to take into account, specifically in the South African context. We've lost since 2020, according to our own statistics, we've lost 3,600 educators just in the public service. That excludes the independent schooling sector. And so COVID has had a catastrophic impact on education, not only in South Africa, but in fact around the world. Prior to the pandemic, the chairperson has referred to our performance in PEARLS in particular, also in TIMS, but I just want to pause on PEARLS. And PEARLS testing reading levels in grade 4. And South Africa has improved quite substantially between 2006 and 2016. In fact, in that time, South Africa, as one of the countries participating in PEARLS, was only outperformed by Morocco. We were the second fastest improving country in PEARLS in that period. And so all of this was dramatically reversed by COVID. Some work that has been done by Professor Martin Gustafsson and some of the colleagues working in the department suggests that by 2021, the average grade 4 learner was now only reading at the level of a grade 3 learner, which suggests that they're 1 year behind in their reading scores. And as you know, Chairperson, reading and language are absolutely critical for educational performance, particularly in maths and science and the other gateway subjects. And so you don't fix maths and science in grade 9 or in grade 10, you fix it in grade 1 and grade R. And so these are, these are important points that I think we certainly taking on board as a system, and that we will continue to pay attention to. One of the areas that Honorable Nodada was referring to was the systemic evaluation and its results in the Western Cape. Honorable Member would be pleased to know that we currently are rolling out our systemic evaluations in a sample of schools across the country. These evaluations are benchmarked against the best international practice, and we will release these results later on in 2022. Hopefully in the next couple of months. And this is quite important because it does give us a sense of performance, what the difficulties are, and what it is that we must do to continue to address these. The issue of both teacher preparation and teacher supply and demand has come up throughout this particular conversation, and these are issues that are critically important. One of the areas, Chairperson, that we will have to give greater attention to in the South African context is initial teacher education, particularly because one institution, being the University of South Africa, UNISA, produces about 60% of all our teachers, and they have, as you know, a kind of a distance learning model. We know that there is difficulties at that particular institution, and we're working with the Department of Higher Education, and I know that department has worked specifically focusing on UNISA over the last couple of years to try and address teacher quality. It is not an issue that is only specific to UNISA. As many of the members have indicated, these are issues that are pervasive across the system and that we will have to address. But having said that, Chairperson, I think it's very important to make the point that the kinds of graduates that we're now producing and that are coming into the system, and there's a lot of data around SAGMEC, TIMS, PILS even, that suggest that the new teachers that are coming into the system have a lot better subject knowledge, content knowledge, and also have a lot better pedagogical knowledge. And so the decision taken by government, now almost 20 years ago, to introduce the Funda Lushaka to particularly address areas of shortage within the system has proven to be very successful. We are aware as the system that in many of our provinces, communities have raised issues around the preferential placement of Funda Lushaka graduates. We produce about 5,000 Funda Lushaka graduates every year, and probably around 20,000 that would be studying on their own or through NSFAS. Funza is a specific mechanism to guide teachers into specific subjects where we have shortages. And Honorable Nodada asked a question about how are we doing that, and it's also asked by Honorable Siwela. It's because these are scarce subjects, and it allows us as the system to guide new teachers into those areas where we have a need. Like Mr. Rabutapi and Mr. Klabane was explaining, because our curriculum is changing, because of the introduction of 3 streams, there are new subject areas that we will have to adjust Funza to, so that we better able to target those areas where we know in the years to come that we are going to have shortages. There are some researchers recently who suggested that we need to increase the numbers, partly because we've got a growing population, but also because we've introduced a new curriculum, and we will have to train teachers in those areas, such as coding and robotics, such as maritime studies, and all of those areas, Chairperson, are areas that we're now giving attention to. The issue of grade 12 enrollment, Chair, I just want to temper the discussion a little bit. We were quite surprised in the department that in 2021, which is last year, we had the highest number of full-time candidates that obtained a matric ever in the history of South Africa. In fact, the 538,000 full-time candidates, the second highest number was in 2015, where it was 456,000. And so this is quite a positive step for us in basic education, because the more young people you actually get through a matric, the more you improve their chances of obtaining employment. Certainly, we take the point raised by some of the honorable members about linking some of these initiatives to the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, making sure that we give unemployed graduates at least that 1 year of practical experience in terms of working in schools. Those are important, Chairperson, and you'd be pleased to know that we're now preparing for the rollout of phase 3 of that very critical program that's providing new blood coming into the system. And Chairperson, and just because of time, there are a few other things that I would have liked to comment on. The issue of foreign teachers, for example, is an issue that we've been tracking over many years. And I can tell you that we've been able to reduce the number of foreign teachers quite dramatically, particularly in provinces such as Mpumalanga, KZN, and Limpopo. And certainly we can make those details available to the committee during the course of this week. The final issue, Chairperson, before I hand back to the Deputy Minister, that I just wanted to comment on is the issue of Indigenous language teaching. So in South Africa at the moment, if you get to grade 4, you switch to one of two languages of learning and teaching. It's either Afrikaans or it's English. About 80%, if not more, of our children speak languages as mother tongues other than those two languages. And so this is a major disadvantage and something that we're now giving very, very careful attention to, Chairperson. You'd be pleased to know that in the Eastern Cape over the last 3 years, initiated by the late HOD, Mr. Temba Kojana, they've started introducing a program where they make learning and teaching support materials available. They make the curriculum available in Indigenous languages, and the children have responded to that. And so if you look at the performance, which we haven't provided for you here, of Indigenous language speakers vis-a-vis speakers of either Afrikaans as mother tongue or English as mother tongue, you can actually see that difference. And so this is an important aspect of our work that we will take forward. There's a language unit that the Minister and the Deputy Minister has initiated, and National Education Collaboration Trust is working with us at the moment to set that up. And what we want to do over the next few years is to increasingly, incrementally introduce Indigenous language teaching in all our schools. And we think, Chairperson, that will certainly make a huge difference to particularly maths and science teaching. Chair, I will now pause and then hand back to the Deputy Minister. Over to you, DM.
Thank you so much, Acting DG. And Chair, I think the members have covered almost all aspects. The issues covered by the Acting DG are the issues that I wanted to cover, that we need to put our facts straight as a department. When we go around visiting schools, most of the math, science, and technology teachers are the young cohort of our children in South Africa. And in those schools where young people who come from university are teaching math, science, and technology, the performance is very high. So, and in provinces, in rural provinces, the participation of STEM, whether they call STEM or math, science, and technology, it's high, except maybe some few, comparatively speaking. Then there are provinces like your Free State, which when we check the results in terms of number one, when we check on matric results, I physically went to Free State because we were surprised because their maths and science intake is very low. We found that they are strengthening the foundation. They have labs in primary schools. It's a process that they want to strengthen the foundation, move with it, that when they go to the FET band, the system is strong, which we appreciated because we felt that maybe they are switching, they don't want learners to do math, science, and technology because they want to maintain number one every year. But I was personally so happy to visit a few of the primary schools that I visited. I was happy with what I saw. And in the meeting where we're with circuit managers, I found that majority of schools, they are strengthening the foundation. They are starting afresh. So the numbers of foreign teachers, as the acting teacher indicated, if we can be given an opportunity to come and give a stats, comparatively speaking, that we checked 10 years ago and now, I don't have those statistics now, but what I know is that in most schools, teachers that are teaching maths and science are South Africans. Yes, we still have pockets of foreign nationals, but the number is increasing because our recruitment on Funza Lushaga is based on the needs, and our need is on languages, MSTA, and commerce. So when we encourage districts when they recruit per district, when they recruit, that check the needs in that district. If a need is a maths teacher, recruit maths teachers, because you'll know that and now that some provinces, yes, the number of participation is high and even the pass rate is high. Though our children, when they pass mathematics, they would want to be doctors and engineers and what, there are those who still love to be teachers. That's why when we recruit maths teachers, we recruit. You saw, Chair, you were there in the National Teaching Awards. The awards were won by young teachers in maths and science. And most of the learners that have got good marks or percentages came from rural areas, which means to us in the department, education in the rural areas is strengthened. We are not yet there because it's a system and we're moving systemically and with plans moving forward. But I believe that members have covered almost all the questions because I was ticking as they were answering. But we want to thank you, members, that this meeting today was really a portfolio committee meeting where the eyes of the department is opened and the members are bringing things that are going to take this country forward on board. We really, really appreciate all the comments. We're not taking anything negative, but on the stats on foreign teachers versus South African teachers on math, science, and technology, we request to go back, as Mr. Rabutapi indicated, that we needed to have HR to tell us exactly. To me, where I am standing right now, the number has drastically decreased of foreign teachers, and the performance has increased based on our local teachers, based from the recruitment that we do through Funza Lushaga. Chairperson, thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, DM, acting DG, and also the presenters. I think we must have our meetings this time. We are more active and very energetic at night. But that's on a lighter note. I think one is appreciating the fact that you were supposed to be at home. You are at home, but you were supposed to be with your family, but you decided to understand that we must have this meeting at this time. And I think we appreciate that. We appreciate from the department, but we appreciate from members as well for understanding, because it's one of those things beyond our control, because of the many plenaries that the parliament is having. I think our last meeting at this time is going to be next week. And then after that, we'll go back to our normal time, which is 9:30 in the morning. With that as it may, thank you very much for responses. Thank you very much. I must say that it's like the DM has alluded to, this meeting was actually an eye opener for all of us. It was an eye opener, and I think members are also fine. I'm just trying to check here. There are charts. There is a chart from Philip Tihomo, which truly appreciate the presentation, but more so the robust engagement from the portfolio members. Yes, Chair, there are reasons to be worried indeed, Honorable Notat. Who is Philip Tihomo now? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Philip Tihomo. But like we are saying that we thank everybody for availing themselves. And we are looking forward to have the documents that we have asked from the department. And we must say that we had a very good meeting with yourselves. And all the best to all the people that are going to participate in the debate on Thursday, as we are going to have our own mini plenary on Thursday and dealing with the budget. Good night, everybody.
Chair, Honorable Adon's hand is up, but we want to sleep.
Sorry, I did. Oh, she's back. Okay, you may speak, Honorable Adons.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and DM. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You know, I've been struggling the whole day today with network. But thank you very much, DM, and welcome back. I hope you bring us good news. But I wanted just to appreciate, you know, this presentation. It was very loaded, and like you have said, it was very informative, and it was an eye-opener. But I strongly believe that we don't need to wait for another year to get another update. I think we need to have, you know, a working, you know, progress to make sure that all these wonderful ideas and suggestions and recommendations are zoomed into schools, districts, and provinces, because even during our own oversight, we met, you know, various challenges pertaining this subject that we're dealing with today. So I think we'll make time we must actually make time as the portfolio committee and zoom into provinces, districts, and even schools in making sure that they do really improve in their performance. Thank you very much. You know, I really wanted to make some meaningful contribution, but because of this challenge of network, I couldn't. But I really appreciate all the presentations today. Thank you very much.
Okay. No, that's fine. You need to change your network. You need to do away with telecom. You must change network and come to very reliable networks. That one is not reliable, especially now with this thing of load changing open up. But with that as it may, goeienaand, lekker slap.
Chairperson,
Thank you,
I
Chair.
have always been with this telecom, but it was for the first time that I was kicked out in this way because of the electricity.
Good night.
So you are the second one now, both of you must change your network. You must tell the network is not, especially yourself,
I'm going to change it.
You are always at home.
I'm changing
Thank
it.
you, Chairperson. I hope I did not lose much, but thank you very much.
No, good night. No, okay.
Bye.
Good night, Chair.
Recording stopped.